Hello, lovely ones. So today we are going to do what I've been doing lately, it feels like, which is responding to questions from other videos. So if I look down, that's what I'm doing, actually looking at the questions. This is a multi-part question, and this is really all around not just how do you as a writer decide, but how does an agent decide whether or not they are finished in trying to submit a particular manuscript. As always, these are my opinions, my feelings, of course, and every agent that you run into may do things a little bit differently. So I'm not speaking for all agents, but I am speaking for this agent. And so with that, as an agent, are there ever times when you feel you have exhausted all avenues for submitting a manuscript and end up advising your client to self-publish? It is a really good question, and I try to get all of my writers to think before they start submitting, or before I start submitting on their behalf, what is their deadline, right? What is their time period with which they right now feel comfortable submitting? This can be a really long process. Sometimes it's quick, but most of the time it's really not. And so preparing yourself and knowing that your agent is also preparing themselves for the hard yards. As I've shared in other videos, some agents, or in fact a lot of agents, are really, obviously they make their money by selling your manuscript, even though they're not in a position to know with 100% surety that they can. They're only going to take on a manuscript they believe they might be able to sell, I would say generally in 6 months or less. So if it takes longer than that, are they going to give up? I will give you my personal opinion is anybody that I take on, for the most part, I'm in it for the long haul. And that means because there are thousands of potential publishers, new publishers coming on the scene, and to be honest, old publishers that may be shutting shop, there's a change always going on. So I never feel like all avenues are exhausted. However, energetically and emotionally, you may, as the writer and or your agent, may feel exhausted and like, well, it just doesn't feel like this manuscript is hitting the right note with traditional publishers at this time. And so I check in with my writers. How are you going? Are you happy for me to keep submitting? And I will almost never, I can't say never, never, but I will almost never give up. Generally, it's always a directive from my writer saying that they are feeling like they want to move on or perhaps try submitting a different manuscript first. I had a wonderful scenario, even I think it was about a week ago, where a writer that I no longer represent, but I very happily represented, and then she decided she wanted a break and to do things on her own for a little while, which was totally fine. She just had some brilliant news and has won a prize, which means a $20,000 advance from a traditional publisher on a manuscript that I never submitted on her behalf. But the good news is, with that submission, chances are higher that the other manuscript she has completed could potentially be tweaked and also published by that same publisher, or maybe just, you know, her new skill level, her new skill set will mean that she can edit those to meet her now level of writing. And she'll know a little bit more based on this newest manuscript, what it is maybe that publishers are looking for. So fingers crossed for her. I mean, but absolutely massive congratulations. Very, very, very deserving. And somebody that I always knew was a win, not an if. Another question in this particular series was, or when do you know or decide that you've done all you can for a particular client or author? Again, my personality and the whole reason why I've set up my business structure the way that I have is because I, generally speaking, don't give up. Now, there may be times when I'm representing, or rather submitting for somebody that I'm not fully representing, i.e., I know that the manuscript is one that I think has marketability, and I'm willing to help them out for a brief period of time. And so then we may call it a day after a certain amount of time without luck, because maybe they're submitting in an area that's not my general expertise, and I send them off with well wishes because I know that they might actually get a better result with another agent. That is always possible. Again, sometimes it's the writer, sometimes it's me. If I've committed to representing someone fully, chances are I'm going to be doing that for the long haul. But we always check in. Like any relationship, it can change over time. And the feeling about how far can I take somebody may have shifted. And make no mistake about it, hopefully you can tell from these videos, but my priority is always the writer. So if I think that they can have a better result with another agent, then I'm always going to be here to help support them, but I will gracefully bow out and recommend that they go with another agent because I don't want to hold anybody back. From my perspective, you have taken your passion and you've written something and you really want to communicate that and get a wide audience in the world. And if it's not going to be me, that's okay. I want it to be someone, right? So it's more important that somebody get the best representation for them and have the greatest probability of success. So it's really not about my ego, but really about how quickly in this traditional publishing world that can move slowly, how quickly can they get their manuscript to find the right publishing partner? Do you ever suggest they may do better with another agent? I think I answered that. Yes, sometimes I do. But then again, I'm also here. If they go and try another agent or another path and they're not having luck or they're not very happy, then I am very happy to talk to them again. Lastly, are there times when as an agent you may believe more in the author than in their manuscript? If so, how do you tackle that issue as their agent? That one's a tough one for me, honestly, to extricate the two. Generally speaking, if I've offered to represent somebody, it's because I believe in their voice as a writer. Now, in other videos, I have talked about how if you send a manuscript out to 5 agents or editors, you're going to get 5 potentially totally conflicting sets of feedback. And because that is so, I never necessarily think it's the manuscript. It's just not landing the right way. Now, there's certain feedback that we can all take, and I do pass that on to my writers, but I don't know that I can separate for myself between a manuscript and a writer. I'm willing to be the active passenger, as it will, or as it were, for my writers, meaning if they decide they no longer want me to submit a particular manuscript, even if I believe in it wholeheartedly, I'm willing to take that directive. However, if I've believed in them enough, it means I know that that particular manuscript I also think is marketable. Here's the truth. I don't take on manuscripts that I don't think are marketable. But my idea of marketability is going to be different than another agent's idea of marketability. We each have our particular genres that we love, that we know inside and out, that we really enjoy reading, as well as obviously selling. And so those are going to be the areas that I say, I know that this belongs on a bookshelf, or that I could see it on a bookshelf. And there are going to be others that there's nothing wrong with the manuscript, but it's not mine. So those aren't people I represent. I'm not sure if that answer is a little too cloudy, but I guess it does go to show that there are so many gray areas. You're not going to get a definitive black and white. And even as I say that, there's going to be an exception to that rule. There are going to be some agents out there that find it a much easier line, and they are willing to give up representing a particular author if that manuscript doesn't sell. But that's because that's how their business structure is set up. If you only make money in your business from selling a manuscript and it doesn't sell within a certain amount of time, or all have limited amount of time per day, then they may have to say, look, I wish I could have done something else. It doesn't look like this one's going to sell. That's not the approach that I take. And so I've specifically structured my business to support who and how I want to be in the world and how I want to be of service. And that's part of why I do these videos as well. So look, if you have further questions regarding any of the things I've talked about today, or any other questions about the publishing industry or the creative process, I want to hear it, as always. So you can send me an email to anjanette@storyaslife.com, or just pop a comment below, and I will hopefully comment there, as well as potentially create a new video to answer your question here. Until then, I know you have a story to tell, and it's time to tell it. Don't give up. Okay, I'll see you next time.